Hello. Today I'm going to share some of the documented ghost stories of Carter Hall. If you haven't seen my full video of the tour of Carter Hall, I encourage you to watch that first so you can better appreciate that incredible historic property. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you my experience spending the night at Carter Hall and roaming the halls in the middle of the night, half hoping that I could add my ghost story to the roster. To establish a little background on the ghost stories, I'm starting here at Old Chapel. Built in 1793 under the patronage of Nathaniel Burwell, who built Carter Hall. This is the grave of Nathaniel Burwell, the alleged protagonist in some of the ghost stories. Born in 1750 at Carter's Grove, a beautiful plantation in James City County, Virginia, Burwell was a politician and plantation owner. At one time, Nathaniel Burwell owned 8,000 acres and more than 200 enslaved workers. Burwell died at Carter Hall on March 29, 1814. Our first ghost story is an old ghost story and was actually told by Lucy Marshall Burwell Joliffe. She was the granddaughter of Nathaniel Burwell and was born in 1812. This is her grave.
Mrs. Lucy Marshall Burwell Joliffe and her two sons were visiting Carter Hall, enjoying a nightcap and the peaceful ambiance of a fire in the dining room, when they heard the unmistakable sound of a carriage in the distance. Curious to know what unexpected guest would be arriving this late at night, the three of them made their way to the front door and saw an old coach approaching, complete with driver and footman. As the coach reached the entrance, the footman stepped down, opened the coach door, bowed slightly, and then shut the door, hopped back up into the carriage, and with the crack of a whip, the carriage departed, disappearing into the night. Strangely, no one had alighted from the carriage. Throughout the years, many others have reported hearing the same distinct sounds of an approaching horse-driven carriage, only to find no guest at the entrance. Is this the spirit of Nathaniel Burwell? After all, he was known to favor traveling in coaches. Perhaps he visits Carter Hall periodically to check on the condition of his beloved home. The more recent ghost stories have come from employees and visiting guests of an international organization that owned Carter Hall for 40 years. Let's start with the ghostly accounts reported by the security guards. After all, they were there all hours of the night, often alone. One of the security guards reported that as she was entering the basement at Carter Hall, she could hear a party going on upstairs. When she investigated, the noise stopped and she saw no one. As she began to leave, the party started up again, this time a bit quieter. As her shift was over, she locked the building, set the alarm, and left, and nothing ever came of it. Another security guard was leaving the house during a terrific thunderstorm. As she was making her way to her car, she had an unsettling feeling of being watched. She turned around and saw a man dressed in a strap cotton t-shirt staring at her from the porch. She contacted the police, but when they investigated, no intruder was to be found. One evening after a dinner event, the guests had all left the property, and the only people left were one housekeeper and a security guard. It was dark outside, and the housekeeper was waiting for her ride outside the kitchen entrance. When the guard noticed her, he asked if she was okay or if she wanted him to wait with her. She declined and bravely quipped, "My ride'll be here shortly, and I'm not afraid of Burwell." No sooner had those words escaped her lips when all the lights started blinking at once. She quickly changed her mind. Another evening, the night security guard was training a new guard in the empty mansion. As they walked up the flying staircase, they heard subdued conversation, and then a clearly audible, "Don't fret so, they'll soon be gone." The trainee did not return, and thereafter one of the first questions asked of prospective employees became, "Are you afraid of ghosts?" Ghostly encounters also occurred while guests were sleeping. One guest awoke at 1:30 in the morning to find a young woman kneeling at the side of his bed, holding his hand. He jumped up and turned on the light, only to find no one there. Another long-term guest was staying there while securing housing for his family, who were overseas. He often reported strange noises in the night and claimed that many times when he would awake in the morning, he would find the picture of his wife face down on the nightstand. Another guest says he woke up and saw a man standing at the end of his bed. But the strange, unexplained visits didn't just occur at night. One day, several of the housekeepers were cleaning upstairs and began joking about the resident ghosts. One of the housekeepers warned the others about their banter, saying, "You better stop. You don't want to make Burwell mad." Another housekeeper scoffed, "He doesn't bother me." Just then, the book of matches she was holding dropped out of her hand and burst into flames. Several people have reported sounds of children playing in the basement, particularly inside a storage room that had been sealed off years ago. Also in the basement, a former chef reported that on more than one occasion, he witnessed a woman dressed in period clothing walking down the basement hallway. On one occasion, he summoned up the courage to ask her what she was doing. She turned and vanished. An IT specialist claims that when he was working in the stables one day, which had been converted to offices, he looked to his side and saw a gentleman standing there, dressed in a Confederate uniform. He said to the man, "You can stay here and watch, but don't get in my way. I'm very busy and I'm going to be here all day." The curious soldier supposedly watched a little longer before disappearing. That same IT specialist swore that when the weather conditions were just right, he could look across the front lawn of Carter Hall and see different Civil War encampments. And now I'll tell you about the night that I spent at Carter Hall. It was after a Christmas party there. It was a dreamy party held in the beautifully decorated mansion. There was fabulous food and drink and fun games, and it even ended with s'mores by a campfire in the back garden. Of course, as the revelry died down, the conversation turned to the purported hauntings that had taken place throughout the years. Some of the guests chose to go home, not willing to open themselves up to the possibility of a visitation, but I chose a guest room and settled in for the night. At midnight, I woke up not feeling well. Too much rich food, I suppose. I was restless and decided to get out of bed and walk around the quiet mansion, curious, hopeful, and a little scared of what I might see or hear. I wish I could tell you something exciting happened, but I have to be honest, nothing out of the ordinary happened. Maybe I'm just not receptive. However, I will share my video outtakes of my old chapel graveyard scare. Perhaps Burwell's spirit is still restless after all.
So this is the grave of Nathaniel Burwell, the alleged protagonist of some of the stories that you're going to hear. See that? Hear that? It just scared me. Right when I said that, a big chestnut fell out of that tree and scared me to death. Yeah.